I want to talk today about starting an online business and how it really just isn't that hard. And it doesn't even have to be online. It could be a brick and mortar. And I was talking to a client of mine this morning at 5 a.m. She's on the East Coast, so that was an early morning chit chat. And she was saying, you simplify things. You make things sound so easy. She goes, and I realized after listening to you that it really is that easy if you just follow the steps, have the courage, have the faith to take the steps. So I'm going to kind of go through something really fast here. And the person who I'm using as an example doesn't know I'm using her as an example, but she is a high school classmate. And I will say that I'm from a very small town. So when I say high school classmate, we all started in kindergarten together and went all the way through. Every once in a while, somebody would pop in and pop out, or they would switch and go over to the parochial school or come over. But pretty much was a core group of people, which is kind of humorous that, when you look at pictures, we all see each other. Just how being from a small town was. But I got this idea this morning. Like I said, I haven't even talked to her about it, so I won't give her name. I'll say her name is Annie. So she posed that she cans. And it's very common back east to can stuff. She cans tomatoes and, peaches and pickles. But the tomatoes caught my attention because she was talking about how she was canning these tomatoes. She does it every year. And every year I read about it and how she invites people over for Bloody Marys because she takes her canning stuff and makes Bloody Mary mix out of it. And I guess it's pretty good. I would never know because I don't like Bloody Marys. Love vodka, tomato juice, not at all. And so I thought she'd be a perfect example because this is how you stop the overthink. She has Bloody Mary mix, canned. She takes some cans and she goes to the farmer market, or she goes to the edge of her driveway, or she goes to her family and friends and says, hey, I have this Bloody Mary mix people seem to like. I named it Annie's Spicy Bloody Mary Mix. Hopefully she had a better name than that. And what do you think of it? And then you go on social media and you see which one of your classmates or your friends have large followings. And go over and say, okay, well, this person has 10,000 people on their LinkedIn page. Hey, friend, would you mind talking about my Annie's Bloody Mary Mix and how good you like it? And start talking to people about it. Stop thinking, when people start businesses, they instantly think, well, what about the food and the FDA or, the food people and all the licensing? Knock it off. Everybody thinks I want to start a business canning Bloody Mary mix, but what do I do when I make $10 million? You got to make the first $100 and then the next $1,000 and the next $10,000 and then figure it out. Just validate your idea. Just test it. See if people want your Bloody Mary mix. And it doesn't have to be that. It could be an online program. I was watching a guy last night. He does relationships, helps men with relationships. The guy himself, if he was over 35, I'd be amazed. And, it just shows the difference in generations. How he was in a bad relationship, so he read everything he could on relationships, and now he teaches it, and he does well. Because he didn't get caught up in the, well, I'm only 35, what do I know about relationships? So I've never been married, I only have girlfriends, or he didn't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in the what ifs. Just go. Just take your idea and run with it. Take your zone of genius and run with it. And if you don't know what your zone of genius is, let's work together. That's where I excel at. I can see the intersection of what people are good at and how to monetize it. And I can see the intersection that they don't see. My client this morning, she was on something totally different than where we ended up because I was like, why are you doing that? This is your zone of genius. This is what you love doing. It's because people want to, they imagine themselves, and visualization is beautiful, but they imagine that they're making $10 million and they have the accountants and all the legal stuff. You're not making anything. So just get started. That's the key. Get started. And if you find out what you're doing doesn't work, then rethink it. I love shadow work. I talk about this all the time. I love shadow work. But just teaching shadow work as a freestanding program at this moment in time doesn't work. It could not work because I'm not framing it right. It could not work because I'm not marketing it right. It could not work because at the end of the day, what I'm really good at is helping people start and build their business. It's my zone of genius. And if you're not in your zone of genius, the universe will keep pushing you that way. But it's hard. It's hard for people to admit, hey, I'm really good at this one thing. It's hard for people to put the sword in the ground and say, this is my thing, especially to the boomers. And I'm a boomer, so I can talk about this. We look at our daughters and our sons and we see how empowered they are. How they, I'm starting a YouTube. I'm going to be a YouTube influencer. I'm going to be an IG influencer. I'm going to be the next makeup. I forget what Kardashian sells makeup. I'm going to be the next Kardashian that sells makeup, but I won't be Kardashian, I'll be Smith. But my generation, the boomers, we're not like that because we weren't encouraged that way. We were more the industrial. You're going to go to school, go to high school, go to college, get a job as a secretary, a nurse, or a teacher, and work 30 years. You're going to get on, government dough as in have a government retirement, or a really good retirement. My dad worked at the steel mills, had a great retirement. I have friends, boomers, that I envy because they all worked at the in Lordstown building cars. They have an amazing retirement. I don't know who they built for. It could have been Ford, Toyota. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you who they built for now. But I didn't choose that path. But I look at so many of my clients that did. And now they get to their I call it your what's next moment. You get to the, you're 55, 60 years old, 65, and you're like, what am I going to do? I only know this. But that's not true because you have a lot of hobbies, a lot of passions, a lot of desires. You just have to sit down with yourself and say, okay, what am I good at? And for some of us, we've never asked that question. We've had people define us and tell us what we're good at, but we never sat down and said, you know what? This is what I'm good at. I mean, when I was growing up, spirituality was out there, but it was considered really woo-woo. And if you walked around and said you're a psychic, man, you were like, oh no, stay away. Now, to tell people I'm intuitive, I don't even give it a thought. It's different times. So decide what you really want to do and stop overthinking it. If you can tomatoes and you do Bloody Mary mix, sell it. What's the worst that happens? You don't sell as many as you thought, or you could explode. We've all seen that commercial where people get the baking thing as a Christmas present, and 5 years later it's implied they're having $1 million business. You don't know till you start. You don't know till you try. I didn't realize that my zone of genius was in, helping people see what they're great at and build a business around it until people started coming to me. I was selling totally different stuff. I wasn't selling anything like this, but people kept coming to me and coming to me. I had a group come to me. They were making, and I know I talk about this a lot, but I want to emphasize this. They were making $500,000. They had a great idea. And we sat down and we talked about it. It's like, you guys, I don't know anything about your business at all, but I think if you tweaked it over here and marketed here, you'd do really well. They're $1 billion company now. You don't know till you start. If you love crocheting, teach people how to crochet, especially during this time, especially in 2020. There is no better time to start an online business than right now because everybody's online and folks, they're going to stay online. There'll still be in-person conventions. I'm banking on it. We have ours scheduled for April, but there's going to become hybrids because people have learned that I don't have to get in my car and drive down to the Capitol and take 20 minutes to get there, walk in, go through security, get checked in, to sit at a 45-minute meeting and then come back. Now I can Zoom right in. I don't have to leave my office. It's the beauty of the digital marketplace. It's the beauty of connections. Everybody wants to connect right now. So whatever your idea is, you can put it below. You could DM me. I'd be happy to help you. I am thinking, and let me know if you're interested, I'm thinking of doing a Zoom where I just talk to people and we start talking, tell me what you'd like to do and we'll see what we can do. No cost, it's just fun. For me, that's fun. That is so much fun trying to see what people are good at. So if you're thinking of starting a business, just start. You can't be wrong. You may need to tweak it, you may need to flip it, but you won't be wrong because once you start, you're telling the universe you're serious. You're telling the universe, this is my damn time and I'm gonna do it. So for all you boomers out there, get going. You've got 30, 40, 50 years worth of skills that you can market. And don't think it has to stay in what you're doing. You know, I talk to people, it's like, well, I've learned how to, you know, I spent my whole life as a math teacher and I don't know what to do. Well, you know, on the weekends, you get old furniture and fix it. You know, I can't think of what they call it now. Recover old furniture, and you're really good at it. Why don't you sell that? Well, who would buy it? Who wouldn't buy it? So, I mean, think of your ideas. Hey, Terry, how you doing? Think of your ideas that you want to do and do it. Stop dragging your feet. You'll never know till you get started. So I hope this helped you guys. Look at what you like to do. Look at what you love to do. Don't look at whether you can monetize it. Don't look at whether there's an audience. We can figure that out. Just what do you love to do? What would make your heart sing? And it's not like you have to pick something that you're going to want to do for the next 20 years. That's the other thing where people get hung up on. Well, I really like to do it, but I don't know if I want to do it for the next 20 years. You don't have to. Pick something you want to do now. You can switch gears. I switch gears all the time because I follow my heart. I follow where I'm called to go. And sometimes I go in a direction that I think is right, that my heart calls me, and sometimes God tells me, no, you need to get back over there because that's where you're supposed to be. And sometimes when you're not where you're supposed to be, ask yourself, because that's where the shadows come in. See, I can always get shadow work in there. So, hey, Rita, well, we're going to do a Zoom call then. It's just sitting down with yourself and being honest. And I think that's why, you know, I see more people coming to me, because sometimes it's hard. Not sometimes, most of the time it's hard to admit that you're really good at something that you're not doing full time, if that makes sense. That, you know, you have this job and you perceive yourself in this job. You know, I perceive myself as the CEO of an assisted living association that I helped found. I'm good at marketing, I'm good at building, but I never saw the intuitive piece. I miss that because that comes natural. What comes natural to you is where you should be. So whatever you're doing now, look at what comes natural. What do you not think about? What do you just do? And people look at you and say, wow, you do that so well. And of course, there's one where I was like, oh, no. Well, yeah, there's some things that we just do inherently well. That's your zone of genius. So let me know, like I said, let me know in the comments before if you're interested in a Zoom call. We can set one up probably next week sometime and just kind of go through, just chit chat back and forth what everybody wants to do. So I'll talk to you guys later. Don't wait. Get going. Follow your heart. Start your business today. And if you're in a business and you're not sure you want to stay in the business, follow your heart. This is the perfect time. Bye, y'all.